Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a quick look here at Bitcoin, see kind of what's going on, of course, and help us understand how this work week is going to treat us. Now, big picture, I'm not a financial advisor. I really just love teaching people how to trade. I hope you can learn something here today. If you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below, and effectively allow yourself to become just generally better, right? We've got a trading community. I've got a trading academy as well that helps you understand the foundation and fundamentals of being a good trader. And to build on that, I send out signals for every trade that I take so you can learn how to structure your trades effectively, because that's probably the weakest point for a lot of people, is knowing when to take your profit targets and how to set up your trailing stop loss. That's all fully automated. Check that out in your own time. Now, taking a look here at Bitcoin, here's something we need to understand. Big picture, we're not in dire straits. Okay, I just need to kind of reiterate that the sky isn't falling because we had a slight correction today. Yes, it's having trouble getting past 47,400 as a close approximate. That is essentially the one-day candlestick close highest. However, we're also building a foundation of volume in this area, this price point that has very little, at least sub 46,000 and above 44,500. So this little support channel here, this green box, that is essentially a nice area of support that when the price travels into, it keeps getting rejected and comes right back up. So we just got to keep continuing on with that same sentiment there. But the truth is here, there's a couple things going on. Okay, so we just got to kind of acknowledge the obvious. Now, first things first, we're still honoring this ascending trend line. This hasn't changed yet. Yes, it's getting tested today, and the likelihood of it possibly breaking below or going outside of this range is still there. Okay. But just note that we have this trend line here essentially, and this is potentially the third touch on this trend line, whereas it could continue to go higher. There's still that likelihood, all right? So just keep that in the forefront of your mind. We're still in decent shape here. The correction that we saw here recently was probably likely based on Thailand and the news that we saw over there. Do your own research, of course, but I think they disallowed cryptocurrency to be traded, and as a result, we see a little bit of a red day. That could very well be the case. That being said, moving forward, another thing also to acknowledge is we are making lower highs tentatively. Now again, this trend line's only touched twice versus the third touch on the uptrend. So I feel more comfortable, trusting in a third test of a trend line versus only two tests. So just keep that in mind. The more often you test a trend line, the more likely it is to continue. And we still haven't broken this uptrend yet. Now, just say we do break that uptrend and we continue downwards, we should have a turning point here, as the worst case, I would say, at 44,500 to effectively get a bounce off that, because we have a nice key level support there at 44.5 from previous dates, including the more recent one. Okay. So again, all good reasons there. We also have Fibonacci retracement telling us that 46,000 should work as a support level. Yes, the price is wavered above and below that, but it's kind of held steady at this point, which tells me we're kind of priming the pump, right? We could very well be seeing an increase from here. More likelihood of an increase than a decrease, but you got to keep in mind there was a significant increase during this time frame, so this correction is completely necessary. Also, too, 44,200 is a key level support on Fibonacci retracement. That's just below 44.5. So if you're going to have a stop loss for Bitcoin, 44,000 wouldn't be a terrible place, and or 43 to be safe, give you some wiggle room. All right. That is essentially what we're looking at there for Bitcoin, just kind of in the, at a glance on the one-day chart there, kind of seeing what's going on. RSI is still in good shape, of course, kind of just tapering off a little bit there. As long as we stay above 50, we're going to be in good straits, or good shape. I would say we're going to be perhaps in dire straits if we lose 50 on the RSI. That's generally a cause for concern, but initially here, I don't see any cause for issues in that sense. We do need to acknowledge this as well. I'm not a firm believer in the MACD on the one-day time frame. I personally feel that it doesn't necessarily happen as often or give you as good a signal as the 4-hour time frame. But if you're going to use this is telling us that we have a potential divergence here, basically just implying that the bears are gaining control and the bulls are losing control. It doesn't mean the price is going to drop like a rock. It pretty much just implies that we could see the price continue sideways as we have, to allow for that to calm down and to kind of squeeze and to kind of contract and to have those two moving averages move synonymously. And then, of course, we have a shift back upwards. We could even see a bounce, too. There's a lot of different factors there, but the general consensus, I feel, is to trust the 4-hour MACD convergence, if there is one, or a divergence, versus the actual one day. And this is the 4-hour right here, of course, and it's not really telling us too much. It's kind of just telling us it's been pretty much steady sideways here for a little while, which we can see, of course. And there hasn't been a lot of movement one way or the other. Yes, it's kind of pushing and wavering down a little bit, but it came up yesterday as well. So this is nothing to really bank on or to make a decision with. Okay, so disregard the MACD. It's really only, in my personal opinion, beneficial when the 4-hour time frame has a significant shift in momentum, and we can see that difference from bearish to bullish or bullish to bearish. It's kind of just the best thing for it. So again, I know some people ask me, hey, the MACD is about to diverge. What's the deal? Try not to worry too much about that. That's just kind of a complementing factor, as long as you have other factors as well. Okay, you need to kind of take a lot of things into consideration when you're doing TA. You can't just base it on one thing. Okay, so yes, the MACD is diverging on the 1-day chart. Not a big deal. Not my personal opinion. I don't think it's a problem. Looking here though at the RSI, one thing is that I wouldn't say it's a problem, but we can see that 50 on the RSI is having trouble breaking above. And this is a shorter time frame, 4 hours versus 1 day. Not really a major concern, but it does tell us that the midterm, the last 24 to 48 hours, we've had difficulty breaking that plane. Obviously, we have this type of descending pattern here, effectively making lower highs. They're barely lower highs, but they are lower highs and lower lows. Okay. Now keep in mind, this has only been progressing for about 2.5 days. Most of this data is over the weekend. Weekends are fairly weak. Okay. They should respell it WEAKEND, right, for trading, because the weekends are pretty weak, for lack of better terms. They don't have a lot of strength in volume and volatility. Okay, so we got to kind of understand that. And another thing that is interesting too, so far we've seen a lot of pretty low volume, only a little bit of selling pressure so far. So those who are willing to buy haven't bought yet, and that's kind of a good sign. I think they're waiting on the sidelines for the right time to shoot the price up. We might see that soon based on this type of ascending pattern here. The day is still young. Wait for the candlestick to close before you make a thorough decision. And what I mean by that is, the 1-day candlestick today, yeah, it's tentatively red, but it hasn't closed yet. And when it closes, that's when you want to be able to make a better decision there. And at this point, the trend line hasn't broken yet. All right, so again, just some things to think about. Either way, most of the stuff here on the 4-hour time frame is disadvantageous. There's no doubt about that. It's not looking great. It's basically telling us that it wants to kind of try to come down lower. So in order for us to break this trend, our next high needs to be higher than 46,300. We want to close somewhere around 46.5 on the 4-hour in order to see this shift in momentum. In other words, basically making higher highs instead of lower highs. Okay. Because right now you can kind of see this little bit of a channel where the price is just kind of diagonaling down a little bit. But it's not significant. Once again, most of this data is based on a weekend. I don't think weekend performance is a great testament of what we should expect for the remainder of the week. Okay. All right. That being said, that's kind of where we're at here so far for the 4-hour. Let's look at TD sequential just really quick and identify here. First of all, we're at a 5. So we may have a potential of 4 more 4-hour candlesticks, basically 16 hours of downtrend before we see the price potentially recover. Again, this is all potential. There's no guarantees, but on the same accord, I wouldn't be surprised if it continues to be a red day here today, and then we see a green return back to the upside tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised by that. But either way, this is kind of just telling us that we have potential of continuation lower. Will it happen? Is there a guarantee? No, because we've come down to 3 got to reset, 5 reset, 7 previously. There's no real consistency in hitting like 9s over and over. So should we hit a 9 to the downside? Probably not, based on the fact that we haven't done that yet in the full, almost 1 week's worth of trading data. Okay. So minus this last previous 9, we haven't really seen any other 9s. And that's kind of a good sign. It basically just implies that, again, there's not a lot of buying or selling pressure specifically. It's just that there's a lot of volume accumulation and the price is consolidating. It's very standard when the price has increased as high as it had in such a short amount of time. Right? So again, it was on a consistent uptrend. I think we had like 15 days of green, so to speak, in the last 3 weeks almost. So Bitcoin did very well. For it to go sideways right now is completely normal. Try not to overreact and concern yourself too much. All right, so take a look at the 1 hour. Let's take a look here and see, first of all, where TD sequential is kind of lining up. Probably a very similar scenario there. Let's see if we got, we hit a 9 previously. bunch of resets, 1, 2, 4, 5. Yeah, there's literally nothing going on. And again, this weekend data should not really be considered as excellent, barometer of what's going to happen this week. I think the next couple of days will be obviously very telling. We just need to see a little bit more volume. Right now, a lot of altcoins are taking the volume. We saw Bitcoin dominance recede over the weekend, which just implies that that the reason why the price didn't go much higher is because people were selling their Bitcoin to buy all their altcoins. That's a common occurrence. This is not a problem to be able to see the price going sideways like that over a weekend. All right, again, I've drilled that home. I hope you understand what I mean by that. And regarding the TT sequential, there's literally nothing here telling us that there's any consistency in one direction or the other. So until that trend establishes itself, we can expect the lower highs and lower lows to continue, at least until we see the next higher low. Or higher high, rather, actually, is what we want to see initially to break this downtrend. And what that would basically boil down to is a higher high above 46,500. Okay. So we're at 45,700. We'll see what happens here soon. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the cloud. Kind of messy. We just broke below the cloud. So keep that in mind. While you're under the cloud, it's considered to be a sell signal, or more so just not a buy signal. So at this point, taking a long position would be kind of potentially risky until we break back above the cloud. So again, 46,500 would put us right there. We can get a higher high at 46,500, we'll be in good shape. Until then, we'll probably continue to make lower lows and lower highs, and that could continue once again for another 12, 16 hours, right in that range. All right, again, that's a could, hypothetical, not for sure. Excuse me, still getting over a cold. Anyways, the lack of better terms here, we shouldn't worry too much. The correction that we're seeing today is very standard, especially with the news that we've heard. I think we're just letting the dust settle. The last 5 days of consistency at 46,000 tells me that's going to probably continue to hold as a support. Let's see how this one-day candlestick closes and see if this trend line continues. If it doesn't, we'll worry about it later and we'll go ahead and figure something else out. Just note, we have a nice strong support channel here between 44,500 and 46,000. Wouldn't worry yourself too much about the price traveling into that range again. It's very normal, okay? All right, so all good stuff there in that sense. I would say more so I'm still very bullish on Bitcoin. Even if we were to close down below and continue to progress a little bit lower, I think the inevitability is for the price to increase. It's doing a natural correction, and it's just par for the course. All right. I hope you found benefit here today. I look forward to working with you if you would like to become a community member. CryptoCache.tech is the website. Link in the description below. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for your time.